Welcome. It's great to have you all here with us. You know, even a scientist needs to know how to spell and to write to be able to communicate their ideas. And of course, we've been reminded here on Science Live sometimes that Mark Twain thought that he felt sorry for anybody who couldn't spell a word more than one way. But a good way to learn how to spell is to just practice. So, I like to play Scrabble with my son, and we kind of talk about the right ways to spell words. But the other day, he spilled all the Scrabble letters on the ground. So I asked him, "What's the word on the street?" So, okay, someone will get that eventually, but keep working on that spelling. Okay, a little bit of science news. So scientists have discovered a giant planet orbiting a tiny red dwarf star. Now, tiny, of course, is relative. They say that it's about the fifth of the mass of our star. But this planet that they discovered, and in case you want to look it up, it's TOI 6894b. I thought they should have called it Joe's planet, but I didn't discover it. So, but they say this planet is about the same size as Saturn. So it's a big gas giant, and it has some really interesting properties. So compared to its sun, it's really kind of a giant planet. So for those of you, though, who are concerned, I promise that I'm not going to make any gas giant jokes. So let's just move right along. So, well, it's time to turn it over to Dr. Joshua to hear about how to study with oscilloscope.
Did you know researchers have found that students who go all summer long without studying lose 20 to 25% of the gains in math and reading that they made the prior school year? What are some ways that parents can prevent that from happening? Take a look.
Parents, it's summertime. Your kids are ready to have fun in the sun. But that doesn't mean their brains need to be on vacation all summer. Hi, I'm Tyler. I'm here to share with you ideas on how to make learning fun and engaging through summer using a oscilloscope. Tip 1. Create a balanced learning summer schedule. Set a daily schedule with 30 to 45 minutes of core courses in the morning, such as math or reading, followed by a fun elective like art or coding. Short, consistent sessions help kids maintain skills, while a fun elective keeps kids interested, making learning feel less like a chore. For example, this summer, I'm planning to take the Acellus course on driver's education.
Tyler, you're still too young.
Tip 2. Increase engagement with the learning activities. Encourage kids to complete oscilloscope lessons to unlock activities like write a book or interactive projects like designing a circuit. These activities reinforce skills in a creative way while developing critical thinking and keeping kids engaged over the summer. Parents, did you know you can read the books that your student writes in your parent account? I'm writing a book about a capable young man who convinced his parents to let him learn how to drive. Tip 3. Use summer to build confidence with targeted review. Identify one subject where your child struggled in last year, such as fractions or reading comprehension, and enroll them in an Acellus course to help them build their skills. Aim for 2 to 3 short lessons weekly. For example, Acellus has supplemental courses designed to help students memorize their math facts. My mom said I could practice driving after I finished my goals, and I just finished them. I didn't realize this is what she meant. These tips will help your students stay engaged throughout the whole summer.
So while you're playing hard, don't forget to study hard. Thank you.
Now it's time to get it over to Dr. John with the Technology Spotlight.
I want want to tell you about a new kind of laser. This is one of those inventions where it was invented, nobody even knew that we needed such a thing, well, at least some of us. And then by the end of the invention, by the time we're done using it, it's one of those things we won't be able to live without, you know. That's what it looks like. This is a new laser from UCSB, and it's teeny. It's like the size of a penny. But the thing that's special about it is that it can change frequency. Remember, a laser is light that's very special and focused, but light is actually an electromagnetic wave. And if you change the frequency, then effectively it changes the color of the light. And so they're able to change that very, very fast. In fact, they can change it 1 billion times a second, which is bigger than I can imagine, faster than I can imagine. But if you look at that picture again, there's those long lines. That's where the magic happens. And they use something called the Pockels effect. And I had to look it up too. And it's named after the guy who invented it. And I was wondering if he invented pickles, but no. Pockels effect. Anyway, this is the effect where when you apply an electric field to a material, then it changes its refractive index. So it changes how light passes through it. Remember, the refractive index is what makes it so when you stick like a pencil into the water, it looks like it's bent. Have you ever seen that? And it's because it changes the light when it goes through it. Well, they use this effect in order to change the frequency of the laser, and they can do it very, very efficiently. And the thing that's so neat about this is usually this kind of technology is big, and now it's much smaller. One of the applications that they're really excited about using it for is LiDAR. And think of it as radar for light. And this is something that almost all of the self-driving cars use. If you've ever seen a self-driving car, there's the big thing on the top, and usually they've got a thing that looks like a can. Well, that's the LiDAR system. And it's sending out laser pulses really, really quickly and drawing a map. It looks something like this. And it's a whole bunch of data about how far away objects are. You notice how it doesn't have color. In this picture, they depict distance with color. And so you can see the green, but really those objects aren't green. Some of those are people and walls and things. And that's the distance that they are. And self-driving cars really need to know how far away things are to know, when to stop and when to turn and everything. So with this new technology, they're able to do a constant LiDAR beam where instead of sending out a pulse, waiting for the response to come back and measuring how long it took, it's sending out a constant beam that's changing color and then looking at what color comes back. And so they can get readings much faster and much more accurately. So like I said, it's one of those things where we didn't realize we needed, but someday we'll realize that we couldn't live without, It's that kind of thing. So here is a diagram of their phase shifter, as they call it. And the light goes through there, and it changes the frequency. And then let's take an even closer look. This is under the microscope of their new chip. And it's not a silicon chip. They have to use special material to get this Pockels effect and to get the functionality that they want. But with this technology, they should be able to make this type of laser very affordably and lots of them and really small. So there's a lot of possibilities. One area where this might be really useful is quantum computing, because they use optics and things like this in quantum computing. Another one that's very interesting is atomic clocks, optical atomic clocks. And the way that those work is they use a laser beam to excite atoms, something like strontium, and when they get it just the right frequency, the laser light just the right frequency, it causes the atoms to respond in a noticeable way. They can measure the energy emitting from it, and that tells them they have the right frequency. And then they keep the laser pointing at it, and they keep tuning the frequency to keep it exactly right. And they can get clocks that are super, super, super accurate just by doing that. Well, this same laser can tune the frequency. So instead of having this large thing, they would be able to do the same thing with something small. And probably a lot more affordable. So who knows, maybe someday You can get a atomic clock in your watch. Wouldn't that be amazing? I don't know why you would need it. We're back to that, aren't we? But speaking of time, that's all the tech we have the time for.
Now it's time for Breakthrough Moments in Science with Tobias.
We are going to talk about something pretty awesome. I'm going to cut right to the chase. We're going to talk about the Eiffel Tower. Now, I'm telling you that because when I show you who was the engineer, it'll give it away because it's this guy, Gustav Eiffel. So, now, this story, though, is pretty incredible partly because of how long ago it happened. So the Eiffel Tower, of course, when you think of France, you think of the Eiffel Tower, right? Well, jump back to 1887, and there was no Eiffel Tower. And France found out they had been selected to host the World's Fair in Paris in 1889. So in 2 years, we will be hosting the World's Fair. What are we going to do? And France decides, you know what we should do? We should build a tower so high, it's the tallest tower in the world. So they put out a contest to engineers, designers, who has an idea for a tower that's taller than anything built. And by now, there's been quite a few towers that are quite tall. So there were crazy ideas. There was an idea we could build a tower hundreds of feet tall out of solid granite. And it turns out if you built a tower that tall, one of the reasons they couldn't build towers too tall was because the weight of it would be so heavy. A granite tower, as tall as they were saying, would actually sink into the ground. It's getting shorter. That would not be good. Another idea was, we could build a tower that shoots water out the top, like a fountain, and it rains. If we have a drought in Paris, we can just turn on the tower. Heck, we could shower out there. That didn't win. But there were two engineers who worked for a company that Gustav Eiffel was in charge of. Now, by now, Eiffel was already well known in fact, he was actually getting ready to retire. He had already made bridges like this one, and that's already looking familiar. He had been, of course, the chief architect of the framework in the Statue of Liberty. So the Statue of Liberty by now is already done, and it's over in America. Well, he had made all the design inside the Statue of Liberty. So he was really renowned. Well, these two employees of his company think, man, we could make a really cool tower. And they had been trained by Eiffel. So they put some ideas together and they went to Eiffel because they knew if he said he'll do it, he'll probably win. So they said, look at our idea. What do you think? Do you want to take this on? And he said, no. So then they went to Eiffel's friend, and they got him excited. And then he said, change that. And then he took it to Eiffel. And Eiffel said, yeah, I'll do it. And so, what do you know? Eiffel won. Now, one thing you have to think about, though, is how tall we're talking about. Because to make it as high as what Eiffel was planning to do, you kind of have to have something to reference it because it's so tall. So here's the Statue of Liberty, okay? Now remember, the Statue of Liberty, it's really tall. You can go up inside of it, really high view up at the top, okay? How tall would it be if we put it by the Eiffel Tower? Well, we got to shrink it down and move the Eiffel Tower in. That is because you're looking at about 300 and something feet for the Statue of Liberty and over 1,000 feet for this Eiffel Tower. And so immediately when the announcement is Mr. Eiffel's going to make this tower and they see the design, all these people in France are like, no. It looks so. There was a letter signed by 47 artistes in France. You know, Paris, you know, we have art. They all signed it saying, this is going to destroy Paris. And they wrote, we protest with all our strength. It's a lot of strength. Against them. They called it an unfinished chimney because it looks like it's unfinished. And they said, it's not artistic, it's giddy. And they said, even the Americans wouldn't like it. Thanks, guys. This is how, you know, and they said, and also, This is going to be like, it's going to frown on all of the historic art in Paris. And my house is less than 1,000 feet away from the park, so if it falls, it might hit my house. Think of the damage. Well, this was the kind of pushback he got, and he turned around unfazed, and he said, no, actually, think about it. This is going to be the tallest tower in the world. And he made a really bold prediction. He said, I believe this tower will become to France what the pyramids have become to Egypt. Okay, so very visionary. Well, he starts. So they start working, and the feet of this tower was one of the first breakthroughs in the design, because the feet weren't these straight feet that go down into the ground. To spread out the weight, he has them at an angle, and because it looks good, he has them at a 60-degree angle. But they found out there was an issue with the ground because it was right by the river. So there was a lot of soft soil. And you don't want that for the tallest tower in the world. And they ended up having to dig down and pour these huge cement blocks that would be down in the ground, this concrete. And the ones closest to the river, they had to dig down and find limestone 75 feet down and then put rods in that and then connect the blocks to that so that the feet would have something to be on. So they're building these feet, but there's a challenge right up front. And that is, remember, those feet are tipped, and then they're going to build them and they'll connect, right? Okay. The issue is, what if one of those is barely off? Then when you come up to meet in the middle and you're off, if you adjust it, but the arch is even like inches off, then by the time you get to the top, that off will be feet. So it'll be like the Leaning Tower of Paris is what it would become. So he had a really ingenious way to handle this. He said, okay, when we build these legs, of course, it's kind of like a bridge design if you look at the arch that they're making. So he said, what we'll do is we'll have the scaffolds that they'll be on, because remember, they're not going to be able to hold the weight till they touch and they connect. Then they'll hold all the weight. So they're going to have these scaffolds holding some of the weight. So he put these bag box containers of sand between the scaffold and the actual tower feet. And then he said, and we're going to purposefully make them too tall. So the angle's going to be centimeters too high. Then when they come up to meet, we will let sand out slowly, and they'll fall slowly till they go exactly where we want. And then we'll stop the sand, and we'll rivet it all in place. And so they were able to get each one very detailed in place, perfect. Now, as they start putting these together, of course, one of his big breakthroughs he had already done in the Statue of Liberty was, and I brought some really high-tech models here. These are two papers that are the same size with very different characteristics. It seems so obvious. Folding this paper makes it stronger. It can actually hold some weight. This can't even hold itself. Okay? This is what he did with the metal of the building, of the tower. He found that if he would bend the metal, fold it in certain ways, he could use much less metal and it would be extremely strong. So all of the pieces that you see of the tower are under this principle. And they say that the strength of it was like if it was made of stone, but it was obviously a lot lighter. So as they start putting these in place, all the connections, they didn't do it with screws, they didn't do it with nails, they did it with rivets. And so you can see this guy here, and he's riveting away. And basically what that is they'd have a bolt-like thing that didn't have screw threads on it, but they'd get it so hot, they'd put it through the two pieces they're connecting through a hole, and they'd get the end so hot, they'd have a machine that would hit that side, and it would squash the metal. And then the metal would cool, and it would pull it in. So every rivet, they would have to get hot enough to glow, and then they had a machine that could smash it. And then as it cooled, it'd suck it in even more. And so they went around doing these rivets to each piece. Now, when they would do this, they got so high that by the time they got the rivets up there, they were cool. So they had to invent a machine to heat the rivets up high as they went. Well, they finished in the 2 years. In fact, they finished early. And they had made 1,700 general drawings, 3,600 detailed drawings, and the calculations for every rivet hole had to be accurate within 1/10 of a millimeter. And get this, no modifications were made to the original plans. This Eiffel guy knew what he was doing. And he hadn't even taken a sauce, so it was like pretty amazing. 18,000 pieces of wrought iron were used, and over 2.5 million rivets were used. And this is a pretty amazing feat. No one died making this tower. And when you see pictures like this, you're kind of like, wow. Okay. We don't count Charlie. That was it. But so they opened it up, and at the World's Fair, all these people came. And who shows up but this amazing scientist and inventor? Not Dr. Billings, not his mentor, Bill Lear. His mentor, Thomas Edison, shows up to the World's Fair. And here he is. You can tell who, everyone's looking at him. He's there in the classy hat. And Gustav Eiffel isn't there. He's actually at a spa, a well-earned spa, okay? And so he finds out, and so the next day he goes to meet Mr. Edison, and he finds that he has a piano. So at the top of the Eiffel Tower, Eiffel has a little room, apartment, and he had a piano put in there, and so he had this famous pianist there. And of course, when Thomas Edison showed up to the tower, all the French people were like, oh yes, look at our tower, we're so proud now. And when Edison comes up there, Eiffel took him on a tour of the whole tower. Now, that sounds really fun, and I'm sure it was, but there were no elevators in the tower yet. There were 1,775 stairs. And, I do the stair machine at IST, and today I did 60 floors, which was 1,000 steps. I was like, whew. And then I looked how many I did. I would have to go 700 more to do the steps that they did. Edison, this is. But they actually, though, they had levels that they would kind of stop at and look around. Whoa, this is so high, and we're not even halfway. And then they'd keep going. Well, when they got to the top, Edison and him met, and Eiffel jokingly said, this is the largest flagpole in the world because they put the French flag on top. But if you go to the Eiffel Tower, they made mannequin wax figures. They're very proud of this moment between Edison and Eiffel and the meeting that they had there. But to be able to have something so good, Edison showed up, you did something right, right? Well, today, it was the tallest structure for 40 years, which is an incredible record to hold that long. 25,000 people go to that tower in one day. And in 1 year, it's 7 million people. And it has truly become the landmark of France and the area around it. So if you're going to do a project, make sure you're ready with your math, your engineering. Don't give up when the naysayers start coming out. And do it so well, Edison will show up. Or Dr. Billings, or someone love that. Thank you.
Well, it's time for me to introduce the creator of Acellus, Dr. Roger Billings. After he invented the world's first hydrogen car as a high school student, a senior in high school, one of the things that he did is wrote a proposal that he sent to Ford Motor Company that got funded for further hydrogen research right while he was in college. So the value of learning to spell and write. And so if you want to create your own breakthrough, better study hard on even those language arts classes. Please welcome Dr. Roger Billings.
I wasn't going to bring that up. Joseph, I wasn't going to bring that up. I was going to say, did you know that Tyler, remember Tyler we just saw, is actually Joshua's son?
Yeah.
Let's see him over here. Let's just see. Hey, can we get a camera over on these guys? I'll hold it from right here. There we are. There they are. Yeah, say hi, guys. Hi, Tyler. So we do have a driver's ed class. And I think one of those slides they whipped through was the driver's ed class, wasn't it? Yeah, not everybody caught that. It's good. I was going to say that, but I wasn't going to bring up the thing about, the proposal.
That's why Joseph did.
Yeah, I guess that's what I did. And we don't have time to talk about her. I'd tell the rest of the story because it's quite a story. It's not one I'm necessarily proud of.
Well, it's your program, so we can talk
No,
about
no,
it, right?
we actually, we're really short of time today because they're back.
Who's back?
The Mentioneers Club are back.
Oh, I heard they
And
were
what
coming
could
back.
that possibly mean other than maybe Mr. Cody is graduating from high school? Because we put him on a little timeout until he finished up, right? So I think it's time to hear from the Inventioneers. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Inventioneering Club. Today we are really excited to announce that we get to bring the Acellus dancing robots to Acellus World.
These robots are awesome. They can perform over 1,000 different dance step combinations.
It's actually over 10,000.
Oh yeah, you're right. And they can be programmed in both Blockly and JavaScript.
You can start working on your robot dance right now and bring your progress to Acellus World. Just open Acellus and click on Activities. In the Activities page, you can choose if you want to write your code in Blockly or in JavaScript. If you take the Acellus programming courses, you can learn about how to debug your code and how you can use some advanced coding principles to make some awesome dances.
We'll see you at Acellus World.
So we will have an Inventioneering Club exhibit at Acellus World, and you guys will be there. And for those of you that are going to travel virtually to Acellus World, we're going to do a tour of all of the exhibits so that you get to see them there. Okay, remember, live, July 10th, 11th, and 12th. Okay, thank you.
Speaking of virtually.
Speaking of.
Yes, we have students who are graduating this year that aren't able to come to Kansas City or to Acellus World, and they're wondering if we feed the graduations.
We do.
Yeah.
We give them vitamins, minerals.
Okay, how am I going to say this? If we have a camera there and we show the live event.
Yes, the graduation at Acellus World will be live.
Okay.
On the same network that we're watching, which is the Science Live network. So you'll be able to sign into it just like the whole Acellus World will be there, okay?
Oh, fantastic, okay. Got his question answered.
Good. So, like I say, we don't have time. Well,
if you keep saying we don't have time, we're going to be out of time.
you're right. We're out of time.
So tell us.
Well, it's interesting because sometimes we work really hard to be lazy, and it doesn't turn out to be such a good idea. I tested this out personally. I had a hypothesis that, math is pretty important for science, and so is chemistry and physics and biology and all these other subjects. But there's absolutely no reason to study English.
Yeah,
No, I
no
mean,
reason.
there's no reason. What are you going to do? Put it in a test tube? And besides, who cares how big the king's toe was? And I mean, it's just crazy. English. And I before E after C, why? Why? Why can't it just be I before E? In fact, if it's always I before E, why don't we just get rid of it and just have it be I? And it's not very logical, is it? And so in middle school, I realized this English, it's not such a good thing. In my school, 9th grade was in middle school. You didn't get to go to high school till 10th grade. So in the 9th grade, early morning before school, ride my little bicycle in, and I took German. Why did I take German? Because I was told that if you took a language class, then in high school, you wouldn't have to take as many language classes. They wanted us to take 4 language classes to graduate from high school. And I thought, that's a lot of English. And so I took German, and then in 10th grade, when I went to high school, I found out that they have a class called speech. It's an English class, because you go in there and you learn to give speeches. Only I found out that the speech teacher had some of the students do a special version of the speech class called stage crew. So I signed up as a freshman for stage crew. Second English credit.
Working
Second
really hard to
English
not do
credit.
it.
And then my junior year, they said I was really good running the lights and the sound, so I could do speech crew again. So I did my second year of speech crew. And I was pretty darn happy about that, because it was that or take English. And English is pretty much a waste of, oh, there's an English teacher.
They're staring right at you.
My third year, they had to have me in stage crew because I knew how to run everything. So I took my third year as stage crew. And that's why I know speak the English, because I missed out on it. Yeah. And I thought I was so smart. No English. High school with no English. One day, Mr. Treegagel, the principal, paged me to come down to his office. Looks here like you're a senior and you haven't taken any high school English. Yeah, I took speech. Looks here like you took stage crew. That's speech, we do speech. And he said, you will not graduate from this high school if you don't take English.
Wow.
And it was already in the year. I mean, you don't want to go into an English class in the middle and miss some of the fine first lessons. So he told me that I needed to take English, and so I went into Miss Nelson's class. Now you got to keep things straight here on history, because Miss Nelson was the same Miss Nelson that was my 8th grade English class. She was the one that one day we did the experiment on you feel really sick. She's the one that said you got to read a book. So I did the chemistry and I did a little rotten egg experiment. It was that same Joyce Nelson. And so anyway, I went into her class, and in high school, 12th grade English at my school, one of the main things we did is we had to write a research paper. Wait a minute. I got an idea. I was getting ready to take the hydrogen car to the science fair, and there was supposed to be a report. So, you want a research paper? I'll write a research paper. This is science. I'm writing my research paper, and I turned it in. Miss Nelson just clobbered my paper. I mean, every tiny little misspelled word, big circle and grammar, and she really messed up that paper. It's marked with red. She handed it back to me, and I said, I saw that red on there. I said, oh, thank you. Thank you. So I went and fixed all of those errors.
Obedient scientist.
And I had a paper ready to turn into the science fair. All edited by my wonderful high school English teacher. But you know, it is really, really interesting that Mr. Treegagel principal and that Ms. Nelson changed my career, my life. I couldn't understand the reason why English was important, because I already knew I was going to be a scientist, and so I don't need it. I just need a slide rule. Well, the next year at the university, having gone to the science fair and found out just before that in my pollution-free exhaust there was nitric oxide, I had some more research to do, and since I knew how to write a research paper, I wrote a proposal requesting funding to study ways to get rid of nitric oxide in a hydrogen engine. And I sent it to Ford Motor Company. I didn't know if they would respond. They did. They wrote back, and I actually got a telephone call with a guy named Bruce Simpson. Bruce Simpson was the vice president of research for Ford Motor Company. He was a big guy, and he asked me all about the project and about the science fair and how I was going to get rid of the nitric oxide, and I was going to use a computer model to do chemistry experiments. In other words, I was going to simulate the chemistry inside a combustion of an engine inside of a computer using math. And that was going to be how I could try a lot of different things to see how to get rid of that nitric oxide. He thought that was interesting, so they gave me the contract. They sent me the paper, and it had to be signed by an officer of the university. And I've told some of you the story how I need to have it signed by an officer. You know, it's like the president, the vice president. I figured it'd be easier to get the vice president to sign. So I went to the office of the academic vice president of the university. Said, I need to get this contract signed. Didn't talk to him. I mean, he's inside the office. I went to his secretary, and here's the secret. If you're trying to get something done, secretaries are your secret weapon. You can't get in there, but you can get to the secretaries, and they're the ones that do all the work, okay? If you get the secretaries on your side, in fact, am I saying too much, Marty?
All of our secrets on how we do it.
I'm hoping no superintendents are listening. But when we started marketing Acellus to schools, we had to get to the superintendents and tell them about it so they would know how to use it. And you can't get in there. They got these big doors, and they're busy, they're solving problems, they won't talk to you. And so I got the team together. And guess who our salesmen are? They're students. They're just students. And the first thing I told them is, we don't have salesmen at Acellus. Because I don't like the mentality of salesmen. It seems to me that some people think salesmen are people that get you to do something you don't want to do so they can make money. We don't want to be that. And I told them, when you get into these schools, if they ask for something and you know someone that provides it better than we do, tell them. Tell them it's the success of the students that really matters. But then I said, I'm going to tell you how to get into the superintendent. Don't. Just go to their secretaries. And I even gave them a script. I wrote a script. When you talk to the superintendent secretary, here's what you say. And didn't it? Some girls back there are smiling, yeah. And it worked. Well, anyway, I went into the secretary and I said, I've got this contract that I need to have the vice president sign. She says, okay, well, just put it there. And I'll get it signed, come back tomorrow. As I walked out, I thought, well, that wasn't so hard. Came back tomorrow. She gave it to me. It's all signed. Thank you. Thank you. And I marched down. I've got a contract. In the contract, it said the university was going to give me a research laboratory and supervision. So the next day, I came back into the secretary and I said, I just have a quick question. Where's my laboratory? They said, laboratory? Yeah, the contract says I'm supposed to get a laboratory. Well, ask your professor. I don't have one yet. You don't have a professor? Yeah, I'm a freshman. Wait a minute. I got to meet the vice president. Took me there. What did you do? And I said, well, I got this contract. Well, who told you could do that? I just did it. You just wrote a proposal and sent it to Ford, and then you got a contract? Yeah. And they said, well, why? I said, I wanted to study hydrogen. And he said, well, you have to have a professor. Research contracts are for graduate students. You're a freshman. I'm working on it. Well, anyway, so he assigned me to Dr. Blackham, who was a chemistry professor, and he was, in fact, the very same guy that when I was a high school student helped me test the exhaust and find out it was dirty. And so he became my professor, and I had the contract. And every single year I was in college, Ford Motor Company kept renewing that contract. Was that sweet? I had a laboratory with a little office right there in the science building, and I had a little jingle. That's money. Guys know, but for you girls, that's money. So English, being able to write that paper turned out to be a game saver for me. And from that research, I found out that if you spray just a little bit of water vapor, just a mist of water vapor into the intake of the engine with the gasoline in the air, the nitric oxide vanishes. Just a little water. And where do you get the water? You get out of the tailpipe, because hydrogen turns the into water, and I could condense it, and I did. And if you look me up on Google Patents or on the USPTO Patent Office, you find controlling nitric oxide formation in the hydrogen engine with water induction. I got a patent out of that, and it was a lot of fun. All because a very caring principal said, no, you're not. And a wonderful English teacher really went to town on my paper and helped me learn how to get it right. So that's why we really need to study, isn't it? And even subjects like English that don't matter become really important. Now, we're moving along in time, but I want to talk a little bit about English. English is a language that we love to speak in America. It's our official language of America now. And a lot of people come here that don't know how to speak English. A lot of people around the world don't know, but it's probably the most universal language the planet has right now. And yet there's so many people that don't speak it. And if you don't speak a language fluently, it's very difficult to communicate. And communication would change the world. A lot of problems, maybe even some of our wars, wouldn't exist if people could really speak a language, a common language well. So our schools that are using Acellus have students that come in from all over the world, and the teachers have to teach them math, science, and all these different subjects, which is really hard if the students don't speak any English. And we have school districts that are telling me they have kids that show up for school. In one district, he said, they speak 40 different languages but no English. So where do you find teachers that speak all of these foreign languages in a school? So we developed in Acellus a thing called Discover English. And some of you, it's not for guys that already speak English, especially people that grew up speaking English. It's for people that are learning English as a second language. And how do you teach it in 40 languages? Well, I didn't think we could do that. So instead, I said, let's use the baby discovery method. Babies learn how to speak English just by watching and looking and listening. And so if you've taken that course, and we actually have a 1 and a 2, and we're going to make a couple more, because this is important, I think. But the idea is we'll hold up something so they know what it is, like this is a frog, and then we'll tell them this is a frog. The idea is they get to hear the language, and they at least know the gist of what you're saying, and they kind of get used to it. Well, that project has been wildly successful. Many, many, many students have taken it. And so now I'm starting to get excited about doing something bigger with it. And the thing that really got me excited was a phone call from a friend in Germany. And this friend happened to be the president of one of the Westdeutsche Landesbanks, one of the big banks in Germany that I had done business with in one of my companies, and we'd become good friends. I opened a European office. And anyway, he called me on the phone. He says, Roger, I've got some people here in my office that want to meet you. If they fly to America, will you accept their visit? And I thought, well, anybody he sends, I'd be glad to meet. I said, sure, who are they? And he says, they're an envoy from the Vatican. An envoy from the Vatican. Okay, so they came over and they came to meet me, and they said that they were there on official business, and they wanted to know if I would be willing to make a Acellus Discover English available in all of the Catholic churches all over the world in a project they were launching to try and make universal language, universal communication. And I told him, of course I will. Of course I will. But it got me really excited. You know, this, if we can get everybody really speaking a language and communicating, the world will be smaller and better. Another thing I learned, some of you know that I had the privilege of learning a língua portuguesa, learning Portuguese, and in doing so, I found out they have a lot of real neat words that we don't have in English. Some words just can't be translated. And it turns out in all the languages, they've got their little favorite words that we got left out on. And usually when you learn language, like in English, we have a lot of words from France because we didn't have them. We found out they did, so we took them. Well, I think we should make an art form of taking good words they have that we don't. Like in Portuguese, there's a word called jeito. And almost everybody that works with me now knows what jeito is because I can't find an English word to translate. But jeito is an ability, like say, oh man, I like this guy, he's really got jeito, an ability to make things happen, to do things. And I have someone come in and say, I can't do that. I say, yeah, you can, use your jeito. Isn't that a great word? And so this idea of going around all of the different languages of the world and picking out their best words and borrowing them and creating a brand new version of English, which I have named, this is where I need a little da-da-da-da, I have named Universal English. And I hope that it can have the neatest things out of all the languages. So I've started collecting them, and I think we need to expand the vocabulary. People that speak English, for the longest time, have been taking words from other countries and using them. We have just all kinds from all over, but I think we need to keep expanding that. But I'm also putting a lot of effort into creating the ability to help people learn English and become proficient in it. At Acellus World, we are going to have a class in Discover English. And we're doing an experiment. I've never tried this before, but in the experiment, we're going to try and make it available to parents of Acellus students. We have a lot of immigrants who will come into our country. The kids will go to school, the kids will learn English, but the parents never do. And I thought, what a shame. What if we made a special version of Acellus for the parents so they could learn it too? Because you can pick up quite a bit of English pretty fast. After you speak some English, then it's easy to pick up more because you kind of understand what's going on and you dare go places and talk. So we're going to try it. In fact, at Acellus World, we're planning to have a whole group of classes that you can come and take. One of the classes you definitely want to sign up for. And by the way, you can't sign up for the classes yet because we haven't got that part on the website, but you will soon. And the goal is by the end of this week, you'll be able to. But do it soon because some of the best classes are going to fill up. Me, I'm signing up for a class called Social Intelligence.
Are we having that? Is that an announcement?
And I want to use this opportunity to announce that we'll be having that class. And the students would like to know.
Wow, you just put us right on the spot, us.
Well, we just want to, guys, just say if you want that class or not. Social, it's like social emotional, but it's that next generation. Intelligence. She's getting better. Every year she teaches, it gets better.
So
And by the way, a lot of students are saying things now to me, telling me how we make it better.
Yeah.
I'm seeing more and more students and parents over on the Roger Billings, Acellus interface on X, where I'm personally kind of monitoring your comments. Work through our support teams when you can. When you can't, go right there and come straight to me. What are you saying?
So the answer is, of course. The other thing is my new class is out.
Of course.
Just got published on
Oh,
Monday.
could we take time out for a little brag thing? Okay. Do you have any news for us today? What's your news?
The long-awaited Emotional Intelligence High School is out.
Emotional Intelligence High School. And why do you call it emotional intelligence?
Because we are learning how to manage and govern our emotions intelligently.
People that know how to control and use emotions intelligently are the people that the world gets in line for and helps. So, well, I will take that. No, I'm going to go to Acellus World much, but that's good. Congratulations on having that. So wonderful new class. But coming back to my point, I want to make some classes available for seniors. And one of them is going to be Discover English.
Seniors.
Yeah, for seniors, for the parents.
Okay.
Okay? Some parents don't have a high school diploma. And when you get over a certain age, you can take a test called the GED, General Education. And if you can pass that, they will give you a high school equivalency. It isn't a diploma, but it's kind of equivalent. Well, something broke over at GDE World. It's almost impossible for anyone to pass that test now. Yeah, and they need to fix it. If you're listening, fix it. It's crazy. But I think it's a lot more fun to get a real high school diploma. And so we have arranged with Acellus Academy so parents can enroll and get a high school diploma. And we have a special course that you take. It's really an examination, but it's a placement course that finds out where you are in the different subjects. You can go ahead and get your high school diploma. We've also been hearing that there's a real need for a course in adult reading. We have some adults that don't read, and of course, English as a second language for adults, which will be coupled with universal English. We're going to offer these, and I'm actually going to let the people that enroll there at Acellus World and take this, we're just going to have short classes there. They'll last an hour each, and there'll be a couple of them they can do. Anyone that does that wants to will be able to sign up for this program so they can then go home and do Acellus at home as an adult learning English. And Josh was over there nodding because he doesn't know that I'm going to say, for free?
Oh, you see his face? Oh.
Can we do that? Okay. I love asking on camera. It's just really good. We've got a lot of really, really neat classes. Like if there's anybody out there that thinks you might want to get into programming, then you should sign up for boot camp. Okay, boot camp in the military is where you go in and for the first so many weeks, you get put on this very strict schedule and they kind of get used to military life. It's kind of tough. Well, our boot camp is for guys or ladies that want to get into programming. So you kind of get exposed to it. And our boot camp for programming is going to last all 3 days. So it's kind of a real thing. But you can come and get some hands-on experience. Acellus is online, and the whole idea, inspiring Acellus World, is to create an opportunity for us to get hands-on. to actually get to touch the robots and get to meet the instructors. And we're going to have, will you be there?
I'm going to be there, aren't I?
Isn't that great? We'll have an opportunity to actually meet a lot of our teachers. In fact, it's interesting for you guys that love math that Patrick Mara is going to be here, and he's going to be teaching what he calls a mathematical journey. And Patrick has been the most amazing calculus teacher I think this planet's ever seen. If you're taking calculus or you're planning to, you want to attend one of his classes, and we're twisting his arm to do calculus AB, calculus BC. So if you're in that, you can come and ask him your questions, meet him face to face. He is a wonderful person. Pre-calculus, trigonometry. So he will have a few classes. Another one of the teachers is actually, we're going to have several teachers you can just meet, and you can maybe sign an autograph for the teacher, show them that you really are a student. Are there real students out there? No, it's just AI. But another one that is going to come and actually teach a class for us is Todd Edmond. And he's going to teach his class he's been wanting to teach forever, conspiracy theories, which should be a lot of fun. By the way, please, from now on, it's Dr. Todd Edmond, because he finished his degree and we're really proud of him. We're going to have a class on the art of homeschooling. This is for parents and students that are being homeschooled. It's going to be taught by none other than our very own Dr. Matthew Searden. And Matthew's been our master trainer since the age of dinosaurs. And it's so good to have him here. He's also going to teach a class on AI prompt engineering. It's designing the thing that you tell AI to get out what you want, and he's really good at that. Here's one that I'm kind of excited about. I love to twist arms of people that I really like. So today I twisted the arm of an amazing teacher. She is a vocal coach. That means she teaches people how to sing, okay? And she's going to teach Find Your Voice. Amazing course. And one of the things we're setting up at Acellus World, we're going to have a little bleacher and a stage and microphones, speakers, and we're going to do karaoke. And she's going to come in there and teach. At least right now, she's agreed to one class of voice coaching. She's amazing. Full disclosure, she's also my baby sister. Yeah, she studied this in college and got very good at it. And then as a test project in her school, they had to take one student and train them to sing. You know, this is someone that can't carry a note in a bucket. And she chose my father. And she got my father singing, which I still believe was an impossible feat. And she might get you singing. At IST, we have a lot of students that come here because of the science, the electronics, engineering. And a lot of guys that are into science and engineering have no interest in music. They don't even want to hear it. Turned off, I'm trying to study. But after they get here, we have this hidden underground culture of music, and they start learning to sing. We do a lot of karaoke, compose, write music, write musicals. We even have musical productions, very proud of them. So this is a good place, come learn to sing. If you're interested, come and watch. Just watching Sister Ann, it's worth the whole thing. Yeah. And she's going to be there on Friday because I'm going, he doesn't know this yet, and I have to be careful because sometimes he watches, but I'm going to also do a reveal of my little brother. I only have one brother, and he's little. 3 feet taller than me, but he's Yeah, and so he's going to be there, but it'll be a lot of fun. Also going to have a fitness fusion class where we teach Zumba and how to stay healthy. And I haven't asked him yet, can we get a camera shooting way back to the back? Way back to the back. Let's see, who's back there? And there's the camera. Will it shoot clear back there? Okay, now look over to, to the left, over that way. Over, keep going. Hi, Aaron. Keep going. Oh, we're getting close. Keep going, oh, there he is. A little bit higher. Okay, Daniel, will you stand up? It's good to see you, Danny. Okay, question, just a quick question. They're wondering if we could have an art exploration course. Can we do it? Yeah, thank you. All right.
Now you feel my pain.
My new superpower is asking on camera. Yeah, I'm really, really good at it. So we're going to have boot camp for guys that want to just try out programming and really see what it's like. It's going to be more than an hour. It's going to be a series of hours, so you kind of can really get your feet wet on programming. But then we're also going to have another one called Dirty Boot Camp.
Is that when their boots are already dirty?
Yeah, it's where they've already got their boots dirty, so they've done some programming. This is a more advanced thing. Both of these courses are to help people find out if they have the aptitude to go into a career in coding. Coding is going to be a wonderful field. We're also going to have a boot camp, which will be an introductory course on filmmaking. We do a lot of filming. And another one on learning construction. Yes, of course you can.
So,
I'm emotionally mature. What do you call it again?
I called emotional intelligence.
I'm not that.
So Colette from California would like to know.
Hi, Colette.
So in the filmmaking, would we also have an acting component of that? Because she's wondering if we got acting.
We are creating the acting school,
Yeah.
and the amazing acting instructor that we want to help us with that is working on his schedule to be here. If he's able to arrange it, we will. He is filming a big movie right now, and it depends on whether they're going to be filming that week.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
I might add that his daughter will come with him if he comes, and his daughter is the lead in the new Star Wars, who is also an SLS student graduate. So anyway, it'll be a lot of fun. SLS World is getting exciting. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Last word.
I'm very excited.
One word.
Oh, let's see. Excited.
Excited. She's excited. I am too. And just in conclusion, thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you. And one last word from 51.
Does he have one word?
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, students, and other students. Welcome to our 51, where we are very excited today because we're getting ready for SLS World, and it's coming up on July 10th right here in Kansas City, and July 11th right here in Kansas City. What was the other one? Oh, yeah, then July 12th, we're going to have 3 days of Science Live. It's going to be amazing, and we're going to learn so many things. You need to come to Science Live so you can learn how to program these robots. And we're going to have a class, and you can do this. And we're going to have some of these, whatever those are. And guess what else we're going to do? We're going to have classes teaching parents how to run a successful homeschool at their homes. Homeschool. Isn't that fun? It's all... There's also going to be classes all about careers. Yes, if you want to get a career, like maybe you want to get in construction. Oh, we're going to teach people how to get good jobs. You go into the job interview and you get all you go there and say, hello, my name's R51. And I graduated from SLS Academy, and I want to work here. What position? Well, I want to be the president. I want to be your new president. And they just teach you how to get those jobs. And guess what else we got? At Acellus World, for the very serious-minded students, we're going to have, yeah, look at it. Guess what it is? It's boot camp. We're going to teach guys how to, and girls, how to, in fact, this is a girl boot. Ooh. We're going to teach them how to program their computer so that they can do all kinds of things. It's going to be boot camp all 3 days. You better plan on coming. And we're even going to have other things like we're going to learn about boxes at Acellus camp. Acellus World is the thing that's coming up, and it's coming right up soon, and you want to really be there, and you want to be ready, and you want to get plenty of rest, take your vitamins, be real healthy, because we're going to learn a lot of good things. And there is a carnival. This is going to be so great. Good things. And on Thursday night, July 10th, 7 p.m. is going to be Science Live, the big edition. We're going to have more people than we've ever had before because you're going to be there. And if you're not there, then you're going to be there because you're going to be watching it live on Science Live. Isn't that great? And on July 11th, which is Friday night, do you know what they're going to do? They're going to have the big Acellus Magic Show. And I'm pretty sure they're going to ask me if I want to perform. Of course I want to perform. I do magic really well. They're going to have the big R. They're going to have the brothers. They're going to have the others. It's going to be really good. And then on Saturday night, July 12th, it's going to be the Elvis Show. Make sure it's great. Mr. Tobias is going to put on his sunglasses, and he's going to be Mr. Elvis, and he's going to make your heart pump. Be sure to mark your calendar. I'm going to be there. You got to be there. You need to come and take a picture with me because I'm going to be there for pictures, okay? See you at Acellus World.
All right, well, you can tell we're getting pretty excited in Kansas City.
Yes, we are.
But to give you something to think on as we shut down, and this will be our last thing tonight, I'd like to just remind you what Acellus World is going to be like.
Welcome back to the Inventioneering Club. Today we are really excited to announce that we get...
All right.
They just wanted to be
all right,
last
Tina.
Would
something
Christina
big is
please
coming to Kansas City.
wait. Would Christina please come up here? Dun, 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 dun.
Where's the
You know,
camera?
I try so hard to get good help.
Aw, come on.
We
she's good
interview people, then we train them.
good.
Then we, hello, how are you doing? I'd like to introduce you to all these wonderful people here. You know, they're wondering if we can watch that little video clip. Would that be okay?
Yep.
Wasn't in you, was it?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay.
She's the one making the world go around for
All right,
herself.
whoever it was, roll it, okay?
Oh, she's really doing it, is what she is.
It is her.
It is her doing it. Yeah.
She's gone. We lose more good help that way.
Well, she's really helping with the Acellus World, so.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
This summer, something big is coming to Kansas City. Acellus World, July 10th through the 12th. Thrilling carnival rides, Kansas City's legendary barbecue, live entertainment, STEM activities for all ages, and the Acellus Academy Commencement Ceremony. Plus, meet some of your favorite Acellus teachers in person. And don't miss your chance to be part of Science Live. Live Whether you're graduating, currently enrolled, or just curious about Acellus World is for you. Mark your calendar, pack your curiosity. Acellus World is waiting.
Okay, that's exciting.